A very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Sports Tonight. This is the Wednesday night edition of the show. It's a very special night, and we're happy to be back with you on this very exciting edition of the show. My name is Tony Ibitoye. Before I go any further, let me just quickly introduce to you those that will be on the show with me this midweek. From my immediate right, Tunde Koiki is on the show tonight. Tunde, good to have you on Sports Tonight.
Thank you very much.
It's a very, very special day. This is the first edition after the presidential elections.
Yeah, it's we've taken a short break because for obvious reasons anyway, but we are glad to be back.
For pressing national issues.
For pressing national issues.
And of course, Onye Uchiwachuku, the proverbial Onye Uchiwachuku is also on the show tonight. Onye, good to have you back on Sports Tonight on a day like this. Just talk to us briefly. You've been away, going around the national elections. What can you say about all of that, Onye?
Maybe he has a proverb to encapsulate
everything.
Well, Toye, first and foremost, we have to officially welcome you back. You know, you were also away on national assignment.
Very true.
You also traveled outside this country. We thank God for Johnny Mercies. You know, we also thank God for, this defining moment in the history of Nigeria. There have been several prophecies, prophets of doom outside this country saying that Nigeria will
disintegrate.
We thank God that those prophecies did not come to pass. The Nigerian people, took their destiny in their hands and decided that, this country will survive, this country will prosper and succeed. They stayed, weathered the conditions,
the elements, darkness,
stayed up
ensure that they
on the queue for long hours
to make sure that this process succeeded. So I want to congratulate the Nigerian people, congratulate the two gladiators, General Mohammed Buhari.
The two major gladiators.
Absolutely. In fact,
there were about 14 political parties.
Yes, in fact, there were about 3 major gladiators. Professor Atahiru Jega.
On one side,
he was the referee. He was the referee.
There are some games.
There were 2 gladiators. He was the referee.
No, actually, 14 parties took part in this election. But sometimes when there are key games, crucial games, the referee ends up stealing the limelight from the teams on parade.
Exactly.
So for staying outside of the limelight throughout the elections, maybe you give him credit for that. Yeah, but it's not over yet. But it wasn't just two major gladiators, maybe. But then we had 14 political parties. It was the spirit of gamesmanship, sportsmanship coming to play, because there must always only be one winner.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony. It's like a football match. We're into sports. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. When you win, you have to
show
magnanimity. That's why players hug themselves, exchange jerseys. When you lose too, you must also take it in good faith, knowing fully well that there are so many games
and adopt the spirit of sportsmanship
in future to be played. You go and strategize and try to win to become champion. So I think in this situation, the two gladiators, like we said here, adopted the spirit of sportsmanship. General Mohammed Buhari, has spoken so well of President Goodluck Jonathan, and President Jonathan himself has called the president-elect to congratulate him. So I think they have set the foundation for true democracy to thrive in this country.
All right, gentlemen, this is the first time we are having Sports Tonight since we had the general election. So in the mood of the general elections and the fact that Nigeria is still united, stronger than ever, and going forward, it will always get better. It can only get better. Tonight on the show, we are dedicating this show to you, to the Nigerian people, because as Onye said, we really need to commend the Nigerian spirit. Not many people we're thinking of Nigeria staying together at this point, that Nigeria is not imploding at this point. A lot of people had, stored up food in their house.
Some people ran away.
Some people even ran out of the country because they were thinking that we were going to be the worst for it. But Nigeria is united, everybody is going about the business, and everybody is saying the same thing. The spirit of sportsmanship, the loser has congratulated the winner. The winner is being magnanimous in his victory, and is telling everybody, look, we need to move together and move this country forward. In the light of that, tonight, on Sports Tonight, about this time yesterday, it was Nigeria 2015, and everybody has been commending what channels put out. Very professional, very thorough. Very objective, top class, top quality. And we are also forced on the show tonight to try to raise the bar. So what are we going to be doing, guys? We have to set the agenda. Tonight on the show, we are going to be throwing the lines open. We will allow you to speak to us. What we are going to be doing, let us set the agenda for sports for the incoming government. May 29, we'll have a change of government. We'll have a new president. President-elect will take over from May 29. Let us tonight on the show set the agenda for the new government, for the incoming government in sports. A lot of people will argue that President Jonathan did so much for sports, is the best sports president so far. Some will also say, look, he could have done more. But let us set the agenda for the incoming government. What would you want them to do in terms of sports policies, in terms of grassroots sports development, in terms of corporate support for sports, funding for sports? What would you want them to do at the incoming government? Let us set the agenda tonight on the show. So we'll be depending on you to be a part of what I'll be doing. And you know how we do it on Sports Tonight. I mean, you've been watching the elections. I mean, you were sending all your pictures from all across the world. All we're asking for is just do a little bit of it. Maybe 10% of that on Sports Tonight, because I know a lot of people have tuned off now that politics is off and they say, look, sports. I mean, but just give us 10% of what you gave the presidential election. 10% of the show tonight. Set the agenda and send your opinion to us as well on these issues on the program tonight, on Facebook, on Twitter. Please get busy with us tonight. Talk to us. Set the agenda. What would you want President-elect Muhammadu Buhari, his administration, what would you want them to do for sports in terms of all the things we've listed for you on the show tonight? So please get ready to be a part of it on the program tonight. We will also be displaying for you the numbers you can call to be a part of the show tonight. And of course, for those of you watching us online, you know the address already on YouTube. We don't need to tell you. No. You were doing it all through the elections, day and night, 24 hours. So please do it again tonight, youtube.com/channelsweb. And of course, m.channelstv.com for your iPad, your iPhone, your BlackBerry, all of these devices for you. You can download the Channels app on Android, iOS, Windows, all their respective stores, and carry channels with you wherever you go. All right, so that's setting the agenda for sports, for the incoming government. That's the topic for tonight. We expect your calls and a lot more when we return from this time out. Join us again. All right, thank you for staying with us. It's time for us to move on now very quickly. But let me also tell you that on the program tonight, we will be going to Benin City in Edo State. We'll be speaking to an expert in physical education, Professor Emmanuel Ojeme. He will be speaking to us on what he thinks should be the priority of the incoming government. We will also, later on the show, be going to Abuja to speak to former Chairman, National Sports Commission, former Sports Minister, Bolaji Abdullah. You remember, he was the Sports Minister before Dr. Tami Danagogo took over about this time last year. So we'll be speaking to these two gentlemen on the show later on, just for us to get an idea of what the incoming government should be doing for sports. But gentlemen, before we do all of the phone calls, Onye, let me come to you. As a news editor of a wide circulating sports daily, new government comes in after May 29. What should be the agenda for sports?
Well, Tony, first of all, we must get the right person as the sports minister. You know, on a lighter note, we have had some ministers in the past, you know, that came to the National Stadium on the first assignment and could not even recognize Falila Tugunkoya, who won a medal for Nigeria at the Olympic Games. So I think that's a tragedy. So we must get the right person for sports, a man who knows sports, who knows the in and out of sports. Then secondly, Tony, there must be a policy. As it is now, what we do is what they call the local balance, lottery. You know, most of the
trial and error.
Most of the successes we recorded have been coincidence of history. We don't have a policy. You know,
they are not structured.
Absolutely. Governor Raji Fashola was on this program a couple of months ago, and I want to reiterate what he said about China. They have a policy. You know, immediately a talent is discovered, the government comes in, funds that talent. That was how Lena won a Grand Slam title. By the time you start winning money, then the government will take some royalties. You know, that is a policy. Whether it's
They
good,
invest in you.
yes. Whether
And they try to make returns
absolutely.
as well.
Whether it's good or not is a debate for another day. But we must have a policy where athletes, you know, who are discovered are taken through a training program, a regime, and get to the top and begin to blossom.
Oh, yeah, hold your thought a little bit. Let's go to Benin very quickly. Professor Emmanuel Ojeme is online now from Benin City. He wants to speak to us on Sports Tonight. Professor Ojeme, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Tonight. I mean, you've been around for a long time. You've seen different administrations come. You've seen different promises made for sportsmen. President-elect Muhammadu Buhari has promised that he's going to be generating about 1 million jobs. I don't know how that will happen if sports is not taken seriously, because sports has the platform to provide employment, youth empowerment for a lot of people. But what are you thinking? What should the incoming government be thinking about if we really want to make a success of sports?